Salar followed him in. "Perform your ablutions." Saad turned to Salar and led him to the bathroom. The cold water on his hands made him shiver for a while. By the time Salar had reached the last stage of the wuzu, under Saad's supervision, the cold water had turned tepid. As he was running his hands over his head, he suddenly stopped. Saad thought that perhaps Salar did not know the right way, so he directed him again. Rather vacantly, Salar obeyed him. As his hands moved towards the nape of his neck, he felt the chain he was wearing, and his glance fell on the mirror before him. Once again, his mind was somewhere else. Saad was saying something, but it did not register. The 10 people in the room were standing in 2 rows. Saad and Salar joined the back row. The Imam began the prayer, and along with everyone else, Salar also recited the niyat for prayer. Does prayer really give you peace? He had found a young man in debate with Saad over prayer about 2 weeks ago. "It gives me peace," Saad had replied. "I don't mean you, I mean everyone. Does it bring peace of mind to everyone?" "That depends on the degree of involvement people have," was Saad's response. Salar stood aside, bored, listening to their argument without any comment or interruption. He was consciously trying to enthuse himself on this topic. Peace. I really want to see what kind of peace it brings, he thought to himself as he bowed for ruku. Then he prostrated himself for the first sajda. His restlessness and anxiety suddenly increased. The words being intoned by the Imam were strange to his ears. The people around him were strangers, unknown. The environment was unnatural, and whatever he was doing there appeared to be sham, an act of hypocrisy. The burden on his heart and mind grew with each prostration, and he completed the last 4 stages with great difficulty. As he read the closing salam and turned, he saw tears roll down the face of the middle-aged man to his right. He wanted to just get up and flee from there, but he forced himself to stand up for another round of prayer and do this with as much interest as he could. "This time I'll focus on every ayat that is read, perhaps this way," but his thoughts dispersed. The niyat was being recited. Salar felt extremely dejected. The pressure on his mind seemed to increase. The recitation of the opening surah of the Quran, Al-Fatiha, began. "In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most beneficent. All praise is for the sustainer or cherisher of the universe, the most compassionate, the most beneficent." Salar tried his best to concentrate. "The Lord of the Day of Judgment." His attention wandered. "It is to you that we bow in worship. It is to you to whom we turn for help." He knew the translation of the Surah Al-Fatiha. He had read it a few days ago. "Guide us to the straight path." Sirata al-Mustaqim, the straight path. He repeated to himself. The straight path. He wanted to run away. He made a last attempt to continue with the prayer. "The path of those whom you bless." Once again, his mind receded. "Not the path of those on whom your wrath falls and who go astray." He was in the last row. Very quietly, he let down his arms and stepped out of line. "I can't do this. I cannot pray." He was making a confession. He backed out slowly, unnoticeably, as the others went into the ruku, and very swiftly he came out of the room. Picking up his joggers, he stood absent-mindedly on the stairs, looking right and left. Shoes and socks in hand, he came down the stairs to the back wall of the building. There was another flight of stairs, covered by snow, and another door. It was dark as there was no light anywhere around. Bending down, he brushed the snow off a step, sat down and put on his shoes, then sat back against the door. His jacket hood was pulled over his head and his hands tucked into his pockets. On the road across, the traffic was thin. Salar sat there watching the random cars and few pedestrians on the road. Sitting out there in the cold, foggy night air,
He felt more at peace than he was in the warm and cozy prayer room. Pulling a lighter out of his pocket, he lit it, trying to melt the snow on the steps. This entertained him for a while, but then he got bored and put the lighter away. As he straightened up, he realized there was a woman standing before him. He had not noticed her presence because he had been looking down. Even in the dark, he could see the smile playing on her face. She was wearing a fur coat, which had been left artfully open to reveal a mini skirt and a skimpy blouse. Hands thrust in her coat pockets, she stood before Salar very seductively. He surveyed her from head to toe. Her long, shapely legs were bare, the cold notwithstanding. He kept staring at her legs, highlighted by the neon lights behind her. She was wearing high-heeled boots, and Salar wondered how she could manage them on these snowed-down streets. "I charge $50 an hour," she said very chummily, in a very familiar way. Salar looked up from her legs to her face, then back at her legs. This was the first time ever that he had felt sorry for a prostitute, wondering what had compelled her to parade half-naked in such snowbound weather when he had felt himself freezing despite his thick, warm jeans. "Okay, $40, she said when he did not reply. She thought he found the rate too high, so reduced her price. Salar knew that 40 was too much. On this street, he could get a girl for $20. This woman was around 35 or 40 years old, and she looked around cautiously as she spoke to him. Salar knew she was on the lookout for the police. "Okay, 30. No more bargaining. Take it or leave it." She further reduced her rates in view of Salar's silence. Without a word, he fished out some notes from his pocket. He wasn't carrying a wallet, and held them out to her. She snatched them. Here was a client who was, for the first time, giving her advanced payment, and that too $50, when she had quoted less. "Will you come with me, or do you want me to accompany you?" she asked very casually. "Neither will I accompany you, nor will you come with me. You can leave now," Salar declared, looking beyond her at the shops across the road. The woman looked at him uncertainly. "Really?" "Yes," he replied, unmoved. "Then why did you give this?" She held out the notes, still in her hand. "So that you move out of my sight. I want to look at those shops and you're in the way." He spoke coldly. She burst out laughing. "You do joke, don't you? You really want me to go?" "Yes." She kept looking at him for a few moments. "Okay, thank you." Salar saw her turn and cross the road, and without much interest saw her walk to the other side. A man was standing there. Salar started looking at the shops once more. It began to snow again, but he kept sitting there as the snow fell over him. He stayed there until the lights in the shops shut down one by one. Then, dusting the snow off his clothes, he got up. If he hadn't been moving his legs from time to time, he would not have been able to stand on his feet. It was 2:30 in the morning. Pushing his hands into his pockets and flexing his legs, he began to walk home. He knew that Saad must have searched for him, and not finding him around, must have gone home too. "Where did you go off?" Saad shouted, seeing Salar, who walked in without saying a word. "I'm asking you something," Saad remonstrated. He shut the door behind him and came after Salar. "I didn't go anywhere," Salar replied, taking off his jacket. "Then where were you all along?" Saad was standing before him. "Just there, on the footpath behind the mosque." "What? You sat there all these hours? In the snow?" Saad couldn't believe it. "Yes." "You're totally senseless." Saad was exasperated. Salar was stretched out on the bed. "Yes, really senseless," he agreed. Saad inquired if Salar had eaten and asked him if he liked to, but he refused, saying he wasn't hungry. Salar just lay there, staring at the ceiling. Saad came and sat beside him.